Hey everyone, welcome to The Explainer. We are diving straight into what is literally a high-stakes corporate thriller happening right in front of our eyes. We're talking billions of dollars, foundational tech, and honestly, the very future of the internet's most dominant company all on the line. It's all about Google, DeepMind, and a strategic reset that is just unprecedented in scale. So if you've been wanting to pinpoint the exact moment the AI wars shifted from the quiet research lab straight to the corporate battlefield, well, you're absolutely in the right place. Let's get into it. Okay, here's our roadmap for breaking down Google's massive leadership and financial pivot. We're hitting the DeepMind earthquake, the pressure cooker, betting the farm, science versus speed, and finally wrapping up with bull versus bear.
Section 1. The DeepMind earthquake. The August 2026 bombshell.
Okay, so look at the sheer magnitude of talent walking out the door here. It is honestly staggering. On August 5th, Google dropped the news that Demis Hassabis, the Nobel Prize-winning co-founder of DeepMind, was stepping down as CEO to become chief scientist. Huge news, right? But wait, look at who is actually leaving the company entirely. We've got Jeff Dean, a 27-year veteran. This is the guy who quite literally built the infrastructure Google still runs on today. He's leaving to found a startup called Discovery Loop, and he's taking Oriol Vinyals and Koray with him. Just to put that into perspective, those two co-authored the 2014 paper that established the scaling principles driving all modern AI. And it doesn't stop there. Noam Shazir, co-led Gemini, defected to OpenAI. John Jumper, who literally just won a Nobel Prize alongside Hassabis, jumped ship to Anthropic. I mean, these aren't just your average employees. These are irreplaceable foundational figures in artificial intelligence.
Naturally, the market reaction was swift. Alphabet shares dropped about 4 to 5% on the news of this exodus. The stock touched around 357 at one point, and it even pulled the Nasdaq Composite down by almost a full percent. But hey, let's keep our perspective here, right? While a 4% drop definitely stings, this isn't some total collapse. If we zoom out, Google stock is still up 16% year to date, and it's gained 86% over the past 12 months. So we're looking at a sharp correction here, not a death spiral.
Moving on to Section 2, the pressure cooker. Inside Google's struggle.
To really understand how this pressure built up, we've got to rewind a bit to June 2026. Google's flagship frontier model, Gemini 3.5 Pro, was supposed to launch. But it didn't. It completely missed its schedule and, as of now, remains totally unreleased. And at the exact same time, rival momentum was just building so rapidly. It was punctuated by Google losing those star researchers we just talked about to direct competitors like OpenAI and Anthropic. So the pot is basically boiling over. And that leads us directly to August 5th, where DeepMind CTO Koray Kavukcuoglu is tapped to take over day-to-day operations as senior vice president, now reporting directly to Sundar Pichai.
Section 3. Betting the farm. The financial shift.
Get this. For 33 consecutive quarters, Alphabet supported its stock price with massive buybacks. In 2025 alone, they spent a staggering $45.71 billion on share repurchases. Then, suddenly, Q1 and Q2 of 2026? Zero. Absolutely nothing. Alphabet completely abruptly ended its legendary buyback streak. They're just not propping up the stock anymore.
So, you're probably wondering, where is all that redirected cash actually going? Well, it's going into a massive $205 billion bet that is the high end of Google's full-year 2026 capital expenditure guidance. Let that sink in. In just the first 2 quarters of 2026, they spent over $80 billion on CapEx. They are literally redirecting every single available dollar they have straight into AI infrastructure. And they're going even further than just pausing those buybacks. Alphabet actually raised an $80 billion equity round. This is their first major stock sale in about 2 decades. Even Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway threw in $10 billion. And then, in this fascinating, almost ironically defensive move, Google spent $40 billion to take a massive stake to Anthropic, which is, of course, a direct competitor to their own Gemini model. The big takeaway here? There is no more cash cushion. Alphabet is pushing all of its chips right into the center of the table and betting the entire company on AI.
Let's head into Section 4, Science versus Speed. The culture clash.
Check out this quote from Reuters. Colleagues noted that former DeepMind CEO Demis Hassabis, quote, put scientific pursuits often ahead of making money for Google. I mean, he quite literally targeted winning a Nobel Prize as a business objective for DeepMind, which, hey, to his credit, he actually achieved. But he really is the ultimate archetype of the scientist. Now, the official corporate line is that Hassabis is being promoted to chief scientist to focus on the future of artificial general intelligence. But honestly, the market's interpretation of this whole corporate reshuffle is a lot colder.
The consensus is that he's been elevated to sideline him. He'll have very few direct reports, which effectively removes him from the daily grind of actually shipping products. Now juxtapose that with the new guy in charge. Inside Google Cloud, which remember is the company's main AI revenue engine, internal sources cheered the promotion of new head Koray Kavukcuoglu. They called it welcome news for advancing commercialization efforts. His specific mandate right now is to steer Gemini toward a much more product-oriented direction. Really, this marks the definitive end of DeepMind's decade-long era as this purely independent research lab. Science over profits? That's out. Commercial execution is officially in.
And that commercial execution relies heavily on what CEO Sundar Pichai calls a full-stack AI strategy. This is essentially Google's massive structural moat. Listen, even if they're losing top-tier talent, they have advantages that nobody else can easily replicate. We're talking about $24.77 billion in Q2 cloud revenue alone. We're talking 950 million monthly active users just on the Gemini app, and over 9 million developers using the API. You add in their custom TPU chips running in massive data centers, plus huge distribution networks like Search, Android, and Chrome. The whole strategy is just to leverage this absolute sheer scale to overwhelm the competition. Section 5. Bull versus bear. Market sentiment. All right, let's break down this divide in market sentiment. On the bear side, you've got analysts like folks at Zacks Investment Management warning that losing these specific foundational engineers is going to leave a deep, deep mark. Gemini is delayed while all their rivals are out there shipping. There's no stock buyback support anymore, which means the stock has to trade purely on fundamentals, no financial engineering to prop it up. And that $200 billion CapEx bet? Well, if AI demand slows down even a little, Google is trapped with just enormous fixed costs and depreciation. But hold on, look at the bull case. Google's Q2 2026 revenue was a massive $119.8 billion. That's up 24%. Also, by sidelining Hassabis from the daily operations, they've arguably reduced a lot of internal friction between the research and product teams. Plus, like we just talked about, they have an unmatched infrastructure moat that OpenAI simply does not have. And, crucially, Hassabis is still at Alphabet. They didn't lose his visionary mind entirely. So as we look ahead, here is exactly what you should take away from this explainer. There are 3 key metrics that are really going to determine if this massive reset is a success or a complete failure. Number 1, the Gemini Pro release timeline. Any further delay here is going to severely hurt market sentiment. Number 2, potential further senior researcher departures. If more foundational talent follows Jeff Dean at the door, this goes from a problem to a full-blown crisis. And number 3, cloud revenue's ability to absorb that heavy CapEx. Google Cloud is growing at an incredible 82% right now, but can it sustain that pace while eating a $200 billion infrastructure bill? That is really the ultimate financial test.
Which leaves us with this final thought. Alphabet is making the biggest, most expensive bet in its entire corporate history. If the new leadership can execute and this infrastructure bet pays off, it's going to be remembered as an absolute masterstroke. But what happens if AI demand slows under the immense weight of a $200 billion gamble? Thanks for joining me for this explainer. I'll leave you to ponder the fate of Google's highest stakes bet in history. Keep your eyes on the data.